Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crypt Choir. I am your host, Lewis, otherwise known as Dixie Enormous. Unfortunately, today we got Dylan too busy with work to be able to join me for this video. Hopefully, he can be in the next one, but I know his schedule with the projects is super wonky right now, so um, possibly he might just be going solo for a little bit, but that's not too big of a deal. He's got real life stuff going on, unfortunately, with work. So let's get right into the video for this week. I've been quite a busy bee of going to tournaments the past weekends. There was a double tournament that I'm going to be going over today. We had Treasure Series 14, I believe, and then another tournament out in the LA area over at the store Fire and Dice. Great store. Like going over there. It's gonna be my second time being there for their cEDH, so it's a good time to be there. But let's get right into it. I'm gonna go over my breakdown for my games for Treasure Series 14. Now, this was quite a run. A lot of crazy stuff has happened throughout this game, so I was able to take notes here in between rounds. So a lot of notes to go over, so I'm going to be kind of going back and forth going through them. So let's go right away into game one. We have Yuriko in first seat, Magda in second seat, me on Cringe Farm, and Kenrith in fourth seat. I mulligan to 6, and I keep a turn 2 Ristic, and I have a Necropotent in my hand as well if I find a third black source. Currently, I only have 2 ways to get a black source. So I'm like, you know what, pretty good. Turn 2 Ristic, and then potentially turn 3 Necro sounds pretty hot to me. I'm gonna keep it. And we go to Yuriko, has a fast turn 1. Turn 2, Yuriko gets in and drains the table for 4. I cast my Ristic Study. Turn 3, Yuriko hits with a Moon Circuit and Yuriko and hits Jin. And I forgot what else he ripped off the top to basically deal 14 damage to everybody. So right away, we're like, oh shit. A lot of damage already dealt to the table. So currently, I'm looking at this Necro in my hand thinking, okay, I don't think it's an option. So this is pretty bad. And I kind of tutored for lands to make sure I get this Necro out. And so I don't have red for crop. So I kind of fucked myself on my mana base, unfortunately, with the tutors, the fetch lands that I had. So people, because the game continues, people are paying for the Ristic. And when I draw at all, it's a land and not black or red. So I'm drawing a lot of the Azorius colors right now. So I'm like, this is really bad. We're gonna get drained out. I can't even cast my Necro. I was hoping Yuriko wouldn't just rip fat stuff off the top right away. I mean, I guess it's my fault. It's kind of the deck built around it. But I was like, you know, turn 2 Ristic, turn 3 Necro just sounded so good. And then Yuriko just was like super fast. So that really sucks. So I'm like, I'm really scared about how this game's gonna turn out. Kenrith is really behind and decides to consultation for an arcane signet for whatever reason. Super weird. Everyone was a little flabbergasted. We thought he was gonna like reverse the Oracle or something, so everyone was just kind of like, yeah, pass. Don't let it go through. So he exiles like his entire library. I think he has like 10 cards left in his library when he finally reveals the arcane signet and casts it, which was, I don't know. That was super weird. I don't know if he was like just tilted and was like, fuck it, or if he had something in his hand, but like all his win conditions that I remember were all exiled away, so I have no idea what was in his hand. So it was a super weird move. But I'm sure he had some big brain play in his head and was just hoping not to exile his whole library. But unfortunately he did. Next up, Magda had an activation, but had to use treasures to get a portal of Rexia to wipe Yuriko's board. Otherwise, we would die to the drain on the next turn cycle, since me and Kenrith don't have any blockers. I'm attacking with Timna that I've gotten out to just draw cards, because like I need to find answers and find like something to pivot to. So we didn't have any, Kenrith also didn't have any creatures, and me because I'm swinging with my only, with just Timna. And then Magda was pretty low, so they had to do it, otherwise they would have died before it even gets to their turn. So Kenrith and Magda made a deal for Magda to crack early so Kenrith could get his leader out to then start beating out Yuriko. Because otherwise he wanted to like, wait until the end step and then like, or I think I wanted to wait until my end turn to board wipe. But Kenneth was like, hey, I can start beating face here, and I'm like super behind anyways. Like it's really just you two versus Yuriko, and they're pretty ahead. Let's make a deal here. I'm gonna start beating in, and I don't really have the mana to really be putting activations of Kenneth anyways. And so he was like, all right, you know what? He agreed to it. So he board wipes, and then Kenrith goes and casts his stuff. And then at the end step, Yuriko tutors for a deluge to wipe Magda's board because they had a bit of Dorks out with the dwarves and the Kenrith, which was super sad. Goes to Magda's turn, and they cast Tangawire, and now the table is F. Magda slowly then starts to make copies of Tangawire with other stuff, reanimating with Portal, beating face. They show a win con by casting Magda. I Pact of Negation it. They then play Blood Moon, and I died on my trigger. No one still can't do anything through the stacks, and then Magda slowly gets her, just literally just beating face slowly with a face breaker, and like the little dorks and ninjas that like Yuriko has in their graveyard from reanimating, and everyone's just like hard locked under the different I think he had like 3 copies of Tangawire at one point, and he just had enough stuff to tap for him to just keep going. So yeah, Magda takes down the game 1 through just beats, which was hilarious just because we were all so low from the Yuriko player that they were able to do that. So that was pretty hilarious, honestly. I definitely, oh man, I don't know. I guess I should have just not banked on the Necro, just thinking that the Yuriko could drain my life and then I wouldn't have much to play with Necropotence. But I just feel like going for it and getting there with a Rhystic Study out would have been nuts. Even if I did like 20 cards deep, as long as I hit something, like it would have been pretty good. But maybe I should have just like not done it and just pivoted in something else. But it's really hard to mull to 5 when I have it turned to Rhystic. So I guess I just keep the Necro in hand and just play around, like develop my mana base correctly and then just ignore the Necro. But I don't know if that was right either. So it was really awkward spots on what exactly to do there. Otherwise, this Necro is like a dead card in my hand unless I draw, Chromox to pitch it under it. Otherwise, yeah, it was just a dead card in my hand. So I think I don't know if I was correct, and I don't know if I was completely wrong in keeping the Necro and trying to develop my mana base towards it. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just how it played out. But overall, it was, pretty good interaction spots. We did table interacted very well. I think I did pretty well, even though I screwed myself with my mana base trying to go for this Necro line. I think I interacted at the most optimal points to stay alive the longest. So overall, not that bad. Just didn't get there. So let's go over to game 2. This one was quite a freaking game. So we have me going first seat, a Tali in second seat, another Kenrith in third seat, and a Atraxa on fourth seat. I start with a turn 1 Ragavan. Rest of the table just plays land. On my turn 2, I steal a halfling off of, I don't know if it was a Kenrith or the Atraxa with my Ragavan, and I just cast Fish. Tali casts Crypt, Mind Goblin, Ancient Tomb, and cast a Tali, which I was like, damn. They mulligan to 4 too, so I was like super surprised and just like burn talking. I'm like, there's no way they have it unless they have like, Ogre and like pay all their life. And at that point, it's like, whatever, I would have been okay with it. But no, they just had it, which was pretty nuts. So Tali comes out and they flip Petal, Intuition, Chain, a Vapor, I believe. Petal, Intuition, yeah, I think Chain, and then J-Lo. I don't think it was Chain because he would have just chained my stuff. Anyways, he only casts Intuition to like not feed me and grabs Noxious Revival, Jaxus, and a Wheel. I obviously gave him Noxious because it'll give me more draws, which was, pretty nuts. Kenrith casts Drannith turn 2, which is pretty good. So we're like, oh, perfect. Well, no, we're going to just stop a Tali. Now it's a Tali beats, but at least they don't have to be, making copies, and we don't have to really worry about that for a little bit. Atraxa casts Blind Obedience turn 2, which is like, for me, I'm like, oh man, not another stacks game, so that sucks. My turn 3, I pay for Fish because I got nothing better to do. Cast a tapped Petal, attack with Ragavan, hopefully, hit some win cons. And I pass holding up intuition in my hand. Atali goes to attack me. I intuition and grab LED, swords, and Savines. In my hand is 3 more tutors and Otawara. So I'm like, yeah, I got this. I got this game. I'm pretty good right here. So I went to give the table a false. I gave the table a false sense of security and say I'm gonna get swords, the Atali, not Janeth. Put them under Janeth with the rest of for the rest of us. They all agree and don't interact, and they give me the swords. Where am I? I lost myself on my notes. Others just play land, go, and do nothing. Goes back to my turn. I make another treasure with Ragavan, cast Ristic Study. So far, I'm in the lead, but no one else is casting anything, so I'm not drawing anything from these from the fish right now. Atali casts Noxious in response, putting wheel on top. At the end step, I believe. Oh no, in response to the study. Study resolves. Now the only thing that can mess me up is like an Oppo agent right now at this point. I cast Imp Seal to fetch for a win con, and Kenrith casts an opposition agent. So now I'm just like, oh man, I'm super boned. That was like literally the only spell that they could have had, and they were like just casting nothing, tapping out. They had other kind of opportunities to cast it, and they didn't. So got super outplayed right here, unless he just drew it like that previous turn, and you know, but yeah, I got. So the opposition agent resolves. He yoinks my breach and sees that I only have tutors and force of negation in my hand, and the Otawara really. And so he's just like, oh, he's not worried about me for a while. Really, just unless I spend my Otawara, but then I can't go for the wins because the Janeth is still there. So he's not too worried. I goes to Atali's turn, tries to wheel. I thought for a long time and really hard if I was okay with this. I'm now locked out. These tutors don't do anything. I only have 1 removal for the table. And I decide to counter it and just hope this fish and study gets me there. Playing it a little dangerously because I have 2 stack space I gotta get rid of, and I only have 1 removal piece. But I'm like, you know what? I'm really ahead. Anything they cast for, they're tapping out to pay for this stuff. And I'm confident in blue form just drawing me stuff because that's what the deck does. So I counter it, and Atali goes to draw. Henrith casts Mayhem Devil. Attraction plays Windswept. Windswept, he cries past his turn because we're locked under the Oppo right now. I untap, keep fish, draw, make a tap treasure, Dragman, pass. Atali draws, goes. Kenrith plays and cracks fetch, killing Ragavan, and casts Kenrith. Right. I think we managed to kill the opposition agent, I think, at this point with the Mayhem Devil. Yeah, that's what I forgot about. Mayhem Devil, we had some things with crack, sacrificing, killing the opposition agent. Kenrith plays and cracks fetch, killing the Ragavan. I cast Kenrith. Atraxa casts Mothering. In response, I cast Ritual and Adnaz, and Atraxa has a Force of Will, pitching Fluster. So another win attempt thwarted there. We then go a few more cycles of doing nothing. I finally draw counter spells. Atraxa doesn't have a win attempt, but casts Atraxa and tries to get there with like a battle. But we have interaction to stop it on the last like turn cycle, and we just go to time and we draw the game. So the game just drawed out. We did nothing. My 2 win attempts kind of got stopped, and that's it. We just went to time. Couldn't get there. I was hoping to find 1 more piece of removal so I can remove the opposition agent and the Janeth. And yeah, unfortunately, I probably should have just taken the Atali damage and then intuition and forced the table to give me a win con and then just use the Otawara to bounce it. But I don't know how long any of the table had interaction in their hand. But it probably would have just been better to do it. But even if I failed, then Atali would have attacked me again, and then I probably would have died because then I wouldn't have any more interaction. So I'm not sure. Maybe it would have been better to just say fuck it and send it. Let the Atali take the Atali damage and go for it. But not sure. Pretty hard to think back on it, how different everything would have gone. But the draw is better than a loss, so that was game 2. Now we go on to game 3, and it's Kenrith, me, Talion, and a Malcolm Vile Smasher. Kenrith has land, Crypt, Vault, J-Lo, Kenrith, and Brain Freeze milling himself for like 15. Mills, Petal, LED, Gamble, Ranger, and Savines. So I'm like, oh, that's terrible, dangerous. I just keep land, Crypt, Esper for my turn 1 and pass. Talion was able to cast out his leader turn 1. Malcolm comes out turn 1, and we brace ourselves to lose to Kenrith. He takes his turn, casts Metamorph, copying Talion on 2, and just hits me with Kenrith. My turn 2, I cast Vault, cast nothing, as every other spell will lose me like 4 HP in my hand, and pass the turn. Talion casts spells, Kite passes, Malcolm casts D-Tutor, and Kenrith shows Opposition Agent. Talion counters the D-Tutor so we don't lose to Kenrith. Ken Savines for Carpet and passes. I cast Crom and pass. Talion casts Sokka, makes a copy of Talion on 1, passes. Malcolm casts Signet, passes. Ken attacks Malcolm and passes. At the end, I hold priority and cast a Value Naz. I flip, Pact, Braga, Simeon, Savines, and I stop at 16 life. I don't want to go any further because a lot of things can kill me, and I probably won't have enough life to even cast my spells. So I'm like, I'm going to stop here. Go to my turn, lose Crypt, trigger it, and go down to 13. At this point, I got no chance of seeing another turn, so I say, fuck it. I cast Thassa, Talion triggers, I lose 6, going down to 7. Talion shows Stern Scolding, I show Fierce. Malcolm shows Red Blast on my Thassa. I cast Revealed Pact of Negation. Stack clears, Thassa on the stack, resolves, ETB on the stack, cast Consult, resolves. No one has anything, and I win. Which was a little weird. At the end of the game, we all talked about it, and they definitely misplayed in waiting until Thassa was on the stack and a Consult resolved for them to Red Blast to force me to draw with like, I think my Esper Sentinel or my Crom. So they were just too, a big thing that happens to a lot of players. They just see blue farm and they just tunnel vision, like, oh, and they don't like think about stuff sometimes. So unfortunately, big misplay from them. They could have stopped me and killed me on the stack. But luckily, they misplayed for me, and I was able to get my first win in game 3. So pretty good. Next, we go over to game 4 is Kinnan, Dargo Ikra, Roger Thrasios, and then me and 4C. Kinnan mulligans to 3, and I mulligan to 5. Pre-game show Gemstone, and I got a turn 2 study. So pretty good mulligan of 5. Kinnan, land go, Dargo, land, Lumberjack. Roger, turn 1 fish. My turn, I play Talisman and pass. Kinnan plays Sandstone Cavern and passes. Dargo, turn 2 cast Dark Ritual. Naz gets a bunch of gas. Abrupt decays the fish, and then goes for the win. So I didn't even get to my turn 2 to cast my Risic study. So that was pretty sad. I know the Roger drew 3 cards. 1 from me, 3 from the Dargo Ikra player, and just didn't draw any interaction. So I'm assuming he just kept like a win, which is most of them do. But I'm surprised he didn't even keep any interaction at all. So maybe he just had like, I don't know, something that he couldn't cast or something that wasn't good there. Not sure. But that was fast game. So that's how there goes a loss. So currently I am 1-2-1. And there's one more round left, and we're cutting the top 10. So I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna get there. My points and everything, my seating is pretty dookie right now. But I'm just gonna play it out because I want to get these reps in. So now we go into game 5. Next is Obnixilis. I forgot who in C2. Me in C3, and then Talion in C4. Right. C2 player doesn't show up to the 3-man, which is pretty good because then that puts me in C2 if we play out this 3-man pod. Downside is, and this is the chaos. I mean, for me, I have so many times I go into a chaos event and I have to play a 3-man pod from the organizers just not dropping somebody, missing somebody, and just saying, fuck it, we're not going to repair, or something like this happening. So I'm always getting into 3-man pods at chaos events, and it's just super annoying. So at this point, they're like telling us, hey, you can play a 3-man pod or 3-man pod or draw. And I'm like, I have to play it out as much as I hate it, and I'm up against Obnixilis and Talion. And pretty scary for me, because Obnixilis is like pretty fast. I'm not that fast. Talion could probably just 1v2 us maybe. So it's pretty scary. But I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I have to play it. I got to get this win because that's the only chance I have to go into top 10 at all. So we play it out. But like I said, that puts me in C2 technically. So now it's Ob, me, and Talion. So it's fine. Ob, land, pedal, pass. I play fetch, pass. Talion, land, JLo, fish, Talion. I have a Reb and MBT. I don't want to cast a Reb because that will force me to tutor a red source with my fetch land. And that's going to fuck up my land composition. But I know Reb does nothing for Ob Nixilis, and he already has a fish out. So I decide to fuck it. Fetch, plateau, cast Reb on the Talion. Turn 2, Ob plays Dark Rit, Ob then passes. On my turn 2, I play Talisman, Pedal, pass. Talion pays for fish, passes. Ob casts Magda, beats me down with Ob passes. I cast him to pass. End step, Talion Hongifies Ob Nixilis, thankfully. Talion just pays for fish and passes. Ob then Pyretic Ritual, recast Ob. He then casts Disciple of the Vault. I then have to talk with Talion and I politic with them to interact with it because Ob will have 4 to 5 draws with it. 2 treasures for Magda, his pedal, my Timna, and attacks with the Disciple. He says he'll do it if I don't win, and I'm like, sure. I don't have anything going on. I'm drawing cards. Like, I want to go into like the mid game. So I'm like, yeah, like that's fine. And then he starts giving more stipulations of like, you can't cast Adnaz, you can't do extra turns, you can't do no Born, no Breach stuff. And I'm just looking at my hand full of non-creature counters and Tainted Pact, and I'm like, yeah, bro, that's fine. I will accept all these stipulations, dude. It's okay. I'm fine with it. And he's like, okay. And he casts Stern Scolding on the Disciple. My turn, I politic again, and I tell Talion I have a Wishclaw Talisman to grab. I have a Wishclaw Talisman, and I tell him, I'll give it to you if you grab Deluge, and I'll grab some interaction for the Op, and I'll reveal it to you. And he thinks about it for a little bit, and he agrees. So I'm like, cool. Activate Wishclaw, give it to him, and I go get my Silence. And they're a little bit like, a little sad, and I'm just like, but it's interaction, man, you know, telling him like, interaction stop him, which I'm sure he'll probably do something, and it does other stuff too sometimes, but it's interaction. Talion takes his turn, fish dies, also because he can't pay for it at this point, and he thinks about who to give Talisman to. I tell him I won't activate Talisman with his permission if he gives it back to me, and he says okay. So I search for and he searches for and casts Deluge, clearing the board. Losing my leaders, unfortunately, so whatever. Ob casts Curse Mirror and Grinding Station and passes. So we were just like, oh yeah, good thing we wiped the board. Things were like super scary, so fantastic. Go to my turn, and we know Ob has a Cloudstone Curio in his hand that he revealed earlier in the game, and some other mystery card. Talion has like 6 cards in hand and 1 mana open. On my last Timna draw, I got a Thassa, so I have win, but only 2 pieces of protection. And I say, fuck it. I'll lead with Pact, playing down the significance of it, and like, just doing a reverse Thoracle, which resolves. And I hope to find something good early so I can continue farming and pass, because I have Thassa and just need a tutor or the console for win, and I only have counters in my hand, so I don't need to reverse Thassa here. Like if I find an early Breach, early Adnaz or something, I can continue going because I just have counter spells, so I don't need to go for a win here. And I'm a little scared too because I don't want to use interaction here and get stopped, because Talion has been keeping a lot of cards and really hasn't been showing interaction too much. And then I proceed to exile my library, and I hit like all my tutors and win cons, and they were like all at the bottom too. Like I was just like in the top, just like a bunch of lands, like talismans, rocks, and just a bunch of other like value stuff, nothing like significant, until like the very bottom where I start milling my tutors. So I'm like, oh, I would have just lost if I didn't do it here. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. I start skipping through it and like exile my library, and at the very bottom, the last card was Breach. So I'm like, all right, whatever, man. I then show Silence to bait out the interaction. Talion shows Fluster, counters it. I then cast Thassa. Talion shows Pact of Negation. I show my own Pact on it. It resolves. Thassa resolves, and I win the game, and I'm locked in for top 10. I don't know if I would have gotten there if we had the 4th person there. I don't remember what they were playing. I forgot to write it down. But yeah, it was pretty good. I was able to successfully get Talion to interact with the table mostly in my favor. He definitely needed to regardless, but just my wording to be able to get him to do it was definitely what helped me win that game for sure. If he didn't agree to any of the stuff, I probably wouldn't have been able to win, or I probably would have just been stopped because I didn't have a lot of mana to cast any of my counter spells. Because it was like Swan Song and like what was it? Alfrey Can't Refuse, like a lot of mana spells. I didn't have really free spells. It was just like the Pact of Negation. So that's a win. I'm like, oh, cool, awesome, fantastic. Go to top 10. So now top 10 game is Sisay, me, Yusri, and Niv Mizzet. Yusri, which is the one where it attacks, you flip coins and draw cards or lose life to the lost flips, and if you win all flips, you have like an omniscience for that turn. Pretty crazy. So I keep a hot first 7. It's Fetch, JLo, Breach, E-Tutor, Bowmaster, Fierce, Wheel. I just need 1 land and I'm starting to draw with Tymna. So I'm looking at my hand, I'm like, this is pretty good. Bowmaster to maybe get rid of Sisay, little dorks or whatever to cut off mana. Niv Mizzet, they start drawing cards. I could kill Niv Mizzet or start pinging and controlling the board. Fierce once I get the Tymna out, and then yeah, Breach with Wheel. Like this is looking pretty good. I'm liking my hand. You guys let me know if that was like probably not a good hand to keep in that pot. But I was feeling pretty good. I kind of liked it. I liked what I was looking for. So proceeded to then not draw any lands for the rest of the game. That was it. That 1 fetch land in my hand, nothing more. No lands for the rest of the game. Niv moves down to 3. Sisay starts the game with land halfling. Yusri goes land, Raga, Amber, Striker Ridge, pass. Pretty hot start. Niv land, Raga passes. Sisay misses land drop, cast D-Tutor. I tell table I'll counter it if they don't hit me with Ragavan. They agree. I show Fierce on the tutor. It resolves. Sisay passes. I cast Tymna turn 1, sorry. My turn, I swing with Tymna. Draw nothing pass. Yusri hits Niv with Ragavan, gets Trick Bind, uses the treasure to cast Yusri and passes. Niv asks Yusri if he can hit him with Ragavan, says no. I tell him there's no way Sisay blocks and doesn't cast Sisay. And he agrees and is like, oh yeah, you're right. He swings over at Sisay and Sisay blocks with the halfling. So we were all a little bit shook. We're just like, oh, usually you want to get the Sisay out right away just to have it. Yeah, it was a little shocking, honestly. I don't know if, I mean, I guess he was a little behind, so it was a pretty good trade just to keep him back, but we kind of just stopped Sisay, so I was surprised that he was willing to get him behind. So now 2 people are super behind, and Yusri's like for sure in the lead right now. So I honestly was like, you know, he was kind of giving me the like, oh man, like I was kind of feeling it, that like I kind of baited him, and I was like, hey man, I legit 1000% I would have betted on it that he wouldn't have blocked. So I'm surprised. So I felt bad. He passes. Sisay land. Amber passes. I take turn. Attack with Tymna. 1 trigger. On trigger, Sisay casts Bowmaster. Pings Tymna. I say fuck it. I need to draw land, and I draw it. No land, obviously. Tymna dies. I pass. Yusri attacks with Commander and Ragavan. Names 5 with Yusri. Flips 5 and wins 4 of the 5 flips, which was insane. He almost would have just, I was like surprised, almost naturally won all 5 flips right here and would have had an omniscience active that turn, which was insane. He draws cards, Bowmaster triggers, wipes his board, wipes his Commander and Ragavan. Yusri then casts Tezzeret, fetches a 1 ring, passes. Niv draws, passes. Sisay swings and hits Yusri for 9, passes with this Bowmaster army. I draw no land, discard Grand Abolisher, pass. Yusri draws, gets domed, casts extra turn spell. Niv shows Fluster, but Yusri can pay for it. I do have a Force of Will, but I'm super fucked and I just can't spend it here. I just gotta hope Yusri draws nothing and gets hit for 14 on Sisay's turn. So I'm like, I can't cast it here. There's like no way. I'm super behind. Yusri takes his extra turn, draws, shows his Hullbreaker Horror, which of course he just fucking draws it, and it resolves. He shows the line. I try to Force of Will one of the colored rocks, so he only has colorless loops to do it. He shows interaction to bounce another rock and still has a loop anyways. Even if with he have the Force of Will, it doesn't matter. He has anything he casts and he goes through. He bounces the stuff off the stack and shows the loop. So usually goes infinite mana and then he does Hullbreaker loops and he wins the game. So fuck my life. There goes my tournament end with me not Force of Willing the extra turn spell, which he had the interaction anyways. And now that I'm thinking about it, even if I casted my Force of Will and he used his interaction and then the Flusterstorm was used, he would have had exact mana, I believe, to pay for it. And unless we had another interaction piece, he would have still got there, which I don't think we did. So overall, I probably should have just done it anyways, knowing that, because the guy, he showed his Flusher and then like, oh, never mind, he has a mana pass, and puts it back in his hand. And I saw his Flusher, so I should have just said, okay, I'll cast it just because I know he has the Flusterstorm to help stop this extra turn spell. So I should have just done it anyways instead of trying to greed. But I think greeting was probably correct there, just because I was so behind. I only had one land. I had no rocks, no nothing. I wasn't drawing anything. I was completely out of the game. So I don't know. I guess maybe I should have just done it and just said if he had it, he had it, and which he did. But I should have just casted the Force of Will. So there ends my Treasure Series 14 run with a top 10. Pretty sloppy overall, especially in that last game. The win, I don't know if I should have gotten it in game 5 with that 3-man pod. The loss with the Dargo Ikra, the dude just had the nuts. Like, there's really nothing I could have done there. And then my game 3, pretty good. How I played that one, I'm pretty happy with it. Game 2, could have just been a little bit more greedy, and I probably would have gotten there, which is funny because I play a little bit safer, and when I play a safer play, I get punished, and then I get punished sometimes for not going for greed play. So overall, okay. Ended the run with what was it? 2-3-1. So not that terrible, but could have been better. So that was it. Pretty good overall. Surprised the tournaments went this smooth for me, because there's always something happening at Chaos events. And obviously we had the 3-man pod, so something did happen, but not that terrible. So it was whatever. So that's how my Treasure 14 series goes. I'm pretty happy with it. And now I'm eating, trying to get as much rest, relax my mind for the next day, a tournament out in the LA area, which I will pull up some games here. Okay, quickly gonna go over my tournament over at Fire and Dice. It's a really nice store. I'm a big fan of it. They arranged some stuff from the previous time I was over there to make some more room, so I really appreciated it. Very clean, very nice setup that they have there. A lot of room to play with. Pretty big fan of it. I'm gonna go over this quickly because I didn't take notes since this was a live event, and I was pretty tired just because having to drive all the way out there. So pod, the first one is, I forgot who it was, but I was in 4th seat. We had a bit of interaction. Oh right, it was some new players. Okay, it's all coming back to me now. I wish they would have unlocked the deck list so I can have a better chance of looking at these. So that was unfortunate. But I believe it was the Mothman in seat 1, Pivot seat 2, Malnius Hornius Calgar C3, and then me in C4. So right away, I keep a I think 2nd 7, and I have like a breach line hand, and I'm looking at it with Mothman and like, oh yeah, should be really good. He's gonna feed into my breach. We go through slow game, not much happening. I'm setting up value, trying not to show I'm like super big of a danger. A lot of people are like, kind of blue farm. So I'm trying not to show that I'm scary, and I'm just relaxing, not doing much, taking it as slow as I can. Mothman for sure is getting into lead. He's casting stuff, rocks, cast Mothman early on, and he starts attacking me. And I'm just like, hey man, I'm not doing a lot of stuff right now, but whatever, trying to help get him not to attack me. We go around a few turns of me setting up Valley. He's still attacking me. The Tivit player, definitely casual. She was like talking to us beforehand. She's for sure a more casual player. Malnius Calgar, I don't know what he kept. I don't think he kept much. We had Mothman casting a Mox Opal, and the Tivit player hard cast Active Negation on the Mox Opal. I don't know what they were scared of or why they needed to do that. But it was good for me because there's less interaction. We go around. I then get enough cards in my graveyard, show an intuition, go through lines in my start going through lines. A bunch of the table has a bunch of interaction. I show my interaction, and then I just get there with a breach combo. Not much to the game. It was pretty fast. It was like 4 or 5 turns. But yeah, it was a bunch of very new and experienced people. I don't know what Manlius Calgar kept. He I believe he snap kept his first 7 and then just didn't do anything in the game. So I was confused. I know he was a little stuck on colors. He was like on 3 lands. So I don't know if like, oh right, he got to 3 lands, rock, and cast like Smothering Tithe, and I think I countered it. So I think he was just like super screwed on like land or something, or couldn't cast any of his spells, which was kind of weird. But not too much, not a lot to the game 1. It was pretty easy overall, unfortunately. So then we go into pod 2, and me in first seat. Second is a Kinnan player. 3, what is this? Yeah, C3 was a the one creature. It's Boros. Activated abilities cost 2 less to cast. Forgot what it's called. And then C4, it's another blue farm player that I know, and he's really good. So we get into it. He blue farm mulligans down to 4, and then we go around. Kinnan is showing a hot start with like dorks and rocks and stuff. Cast Kinnan out. I'm setting up not much. I'm missing land drops. Game is going long. It's going pretty long. We get to like turn 3, I think, and then the Boros player cast the commander, and then tries to show Grim Monolith, I believe, or the other one, Basalt, I forgot. Trying to show infinite mana, and we're just like, you know, yeah, you got it. Like, I have counter spells in my hand, so I think I had forgot what I had, but I was like, one counter spell, I'm like, I'm not gonna cast it here. I think I can counter the next spell he cast. I'm just gonna say through it, whatever. So blue farm players like shows the initiative, and he goes to counter spells. I'm like, oh, fantastic. Go around table, nothing much happening. We're all setting up, and then the guy shows another win attempt that gets stopped. Set up, and I'm like missing land drops at this point. I have a little bit of mana. I have like some engines out, but like I'm like super stuck. I'm showing like, okay, I think I got enough. I'm gonna go for a win on my next turn cycle. Just need a little bit more mana. We go over to Kinnan player, and he shows what was it? Man, the one enchantment where you pitch a creature, survival of the fittest. He shows survival of the fittest. So I'm like, damn. At the moment, I think I only have. I don't want to exile any of my stuff for my blue spells. I think I just have Pact of Negation, forgot something now. So I'm like, I don't, some of the win con or something. I think like intuition or something. I'm like, I can't pitch it here. I'm just gonna say fuck it and just hope I get more interaction. And we go around, goes back to the Boros player, and he shows another win attempt. Blue farm stops him again. We go around, I set up, and now I'm just like, I can't stop it because now he can instant speed, search for endurance, and shuffle away my graveyard. At this point, I'm like dumping all the breach stuff in the graveyard because I need to open up my hand with a bunch of other stuff, and it's all in the graveyard. So this goes on for the rest of the game of us going around. Kinnan is like not showing interaction, and I'm like, bro, at this point you got to show me your hand. Like, I'm not going to interact with the Boros player trying to do another win attempt unless you show something. He shows me his hand, and it's just a bunch of nothing. A creature to go get endurance, pitch something, and then cast it and, you know, turn off a win. I draw a silence during like these interactions of like with the Ristic Study and stuff. But even if I like silence, we have the other blue farm player that's been drawing a bunch of cards, and he can show interaction to stop it, and then endurance will just go and do it because I don't have any hard counter spells. I just have counter non-creature spells in my hand. So we just come to a complete stop. Nobody can win. Nothing gets to the last turn. Blue farm tries to show win, and I just show him my entire hand of interaction, and we stop and we go to draw, which was, oh my god, it was, I couldn't believe it. We were all under the thumb of this Boros player attempting a win attempt every single turn, and they were like going for it. So we're like, okay, he has something in his hand, some kind of outlet, because he just keeps like jamming it. And even through all of our pieces of like draw engines, it was crazy. Blue farm had like 3 cards in one hand, cast a fish, and like I fed into him just to like help me deal with this Kinnan player and the other player, because I'm like, I just have counter spells I can't cast right now or don't want to, so I would rather have you in the game, and I have more engines in him at the time, so I'm like, I can easily fight through your stuff and fight you on this, and you'll draw me cards in the fight regardless. And I was confident in winning a counter battle with the blue farm player at the time. And sure enough, I did win at the very end when he tries to win. I just show him all my counter spells. So unfortunately, that was a draw, and I just couldn't get there. I was just hoping to draw into like a deflecting swat or something to like, you know, swat away the endurance or force of will or something. I just couldn't draw some way to deal with it. So I couldn't go for the win. We just drew. So that sucked. Next up is round 3, and I believe round 3, you just had it. It was I was in C3. Oh man, I forgot who was in seat 1. It was Talion, Sithis, me on Cringe Farm, of course, and then a Tivit player. And Italian has a hot turn 1 starts. Sithis player just casts. He's a casual player, and he just like jams stuff into the Italian, like not caring. And I kept like a really. It went to 5 and it was decent, and I'm like, I just need like another mana source and I'll be fine. Obviously didn't draw it, and I just like sat there and like didn't do anything. And oh sorry, I kept a really like whatever hand, and then I drew a Ragavan. I was like, oh, this makes it better. Land, Ragavan, go around, do nothing. Swing, play a land, a rock, Ragavan, hit the Tivit player, flip Smothering Tide, and I'm like, oh, I pitched the Simian Spirit out of my hand, tap out, Smothering Tide, make some treasures, goes over to Talion's turn. He plays Cavern of Souls, and all right, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Tivit turn 1 cast a the one creature Lorna of the Third Path to blow up my Mana Crypt, because I had a land Mana Crypt Ragavan. So I'm like, okay, sure, cool. And then I do the whole thing with Ragavan the next turn cycle, cast Money Tides, goes to Talion's turn, and he plays Cavern, name Illusion to cast a Fimage to copy the Lauren to pop the Smothering Tithe. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm looking at my hand. I had a deflecting swap, but I didn't have my leader out to cast it. So, and I was tapped out because I casted the Smothering Tithe. I'm like, sure, cool. So I'm getting like hard dealt with right now. Go around, so this player is just casting a bunch of stuff, just like feeding up Dockside. So I'm like, please drop Dockside, please drop Dockside. And he's just drawing a bunch of random garbage. I don't know, like for sure a casual player, a bunch of casual cards. So I was like not too worried about him. Go to my turn, swing at the Tivit player again with Ragavan, hit it, rip a Kitten off the top. I don't cast it because I'm sure I don't have the mana to do it, and I just don't really have a way to use it. So I'm like, yeah, I'll leave it in exile, whatever, pass. And slowly the table just starts getting like outvalued by Talion. They're like dealing with stuff. The Tivit player is still trying to interact with me and like do a bunch of stuff to me, and I'm like super behind. So I'm like, I can't stop you. So yeah, I'm just getting like hard bullied right now. And then Talion kind of at the end of the game just shows like they just show win con and no one can stop them. And I'm just like yeah, sure, I'll try something, you know, like Dark Ritual Adnos that I finally drew, and the dude counters me, and I'm like, okay, sure. And then Talion just wins. So I'm like, good one. So I just got hard bullied that game. Couldn't do anything really. Wasn't drawing much of mana sources to like cast my leaders and do anything. So I think I did cast a Prom at one point, and then it got red blasted, I think. No. Yeah, I think it got like killed by the Tivit or some Tivit player or something. But yeah, so I was like, okay, just hard bullied. Couldn't do anything about it. Oh well. Get into pod 4, and now I have to win this one, and it's my only chance to bubble up into top 10. So in seat 1, I forgot who it was in seat. I think it was Blue Farm in seat 1. It was Sisay or Kenrith in seat 1. Seat 2, I think it was a Blue Farm. Seat 3 was Scotty. He plays Tivit, a pretty well-known Tivit player in this area. Really good. In seat 3, and then me in seat 4, and I mulligan to 4, and I have a fish turn 1. So I'm like, this is probably the best I'm gonna get. So they go do nothing, and they show Scott just shows a bunch of artifacts, lands, hot start. My turn, I pass fish, pass, goes over to Scott's turn, and they just show pass, Tivit, yep, time seep, draw, nothing, win. So I didn't even another tournament where I don't see a turn 2, and I thought a draw engine would be really hot. But then again, I'm mulligan to 4. So there goes my dreams for top 10, and he just got there with it. So yeah, pretty fast tournament. Not a lot to it. Kind of sucked how it turned out, mainly for C4 because I couldn't even do anything about it. C4 round 4, dude just had the nuts in his hand and just turned to win with Tivit, so that sucked. I know another player mulliganed to 4 with me as well, I believe. The person going in C1 just had like a decent hand, but it was like just, you know, slow sister Kenner stuff, just, you know, land dork and not a lot to it. But so he couldn't stop it. I think he had a fierce, but he didn't have his commander out to cast it. So that's how that ended. Round 1 was great. Round 2, I don't know what more different I could have done to try to go for a win. Maybe just present a win earlier through all the stuff that was happening and just say screw it. But I didn't really have the mana to go for it cleanly, so I didn't want to send it right away. And then once the survival of the fittest hit the board, I couldn't go for it. So maybe try to find a way to send it earlier. Round 3, just got hard bullied. Nothing could have done about it. Yeah, with my hand and just getting like hard bullied by 2 people, and then third player just not really doing anything, just feeding the Talion, just casting 2 mana spells to feed the Talion. So he just had all the interaction to deal with the board. So I'm not sure what more I could have done. Try to talk to the guy of like, hey, we should probably stop casting spells because like Talion keeps drawing cards, and he was just like, no, it's fine. So I'm like, okay. Casual players. So that sucked. But overall, good vibes, good time. It was pretty nice being out there again. I like the store. I like the area. It's a really good like sandwich pizza shop on the other side that's like super good. So I was really happy to go there again to just eat. They're fantastic. I forget what they're called. I should have looked that up beforehand to give them a little shout out. I really enjoyed them, but they're right across on the other side of like the little block area for Fire and Dice. If anyone knows and wants to check it out, it's really good. But that's it for my 2 tournament runs, 1 top 10 and 1 just barely didn't get there, unfortunately. So, oh well. Better luck next time, I guess. Gotta do some more changes. I did a lot of changes to my blue farm list, which I will link below in the description. And currently, I really like where my list is at, though I'm still super hard stuck on whether I should keep Necropotence. I know Yorman, pretty good blue farm player. He's currently first seed in the top deck championship leaderboard. I know he doesn't play Necro. I think from what I look at his deck list, I think he took out Necro for a Praetor's Grasp, which I think is pretty hot. Just because it's not triple black, you can just yoink other win cons. If I really need to, I'll steal someone else's Necropotence. Or like in that one game, if I had Praetor's Grasp, I could have Praetor's Grasp, the blue farm player, stole his Dockside, and then would have been able to go for a win pretty early with the breach if I had that. So I'm actually thinking about cutting Necropotence for Praetor's Grasp. I know there's a couple tournaments coming out this weekend. I might try that out, see how that goes. But I think that's pretty cool. I'm actually thinking about it, just dropping it. It's also just really hard to cast. Like even if like I Adnaz and I draw the Necropotence, like I'm not casting the Necropotence. It's just a dead card. Well, if I Adnaz and find the Necro, I mean Praetor's Grasp, I could cast Praetor's Grasp to like just steal a Dockside or Silence or something else to like maybe I'm like I need 1 more card to go for the win or something, and I can just Praetor's Grasp someone to find it. So I'm thinking about cutting Praetor's Grasp. I'm still playing some games, gonna see how it goes. But those are my thoughts currently right now on the deck list. Let me know what you guys think about the deck list. I'll have it linked below. And yeah, let's move on over to the next segment, which is some more Modern Horizons 3 leaks. Currently I have a small list, not a lot of stuff really that's I think cEDH viable, but just some interesting cards that I want to talk about. So the first one right here I have is a Cursed Marauder. It's 1 colorless black creature zombie warrior, 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. Now this is something I could see Talion maybe running. I just don't know what they'd cut just to be able to kill a bunch of leaders. Just having players to not sacrificing non-token creatures is huge. So that's pretty big. I don't know if this is going to be seen in cEDH. Maybe some graveyard decks. I know we have a lot of graveyard synergies coming out in the set that might push some other decks. Like we might see a little bit more of Korvald, maybe Alice Ilkor or the other Orzhov, Retta something. Might see more of that and some other maybe Sultai graveyard based decks. And this might just be a good value piece probably for him. We'll see. Probably not, but I thought it was interesting to see a 2 mana each player sacrifices a non-token creature, because I believe the only thing we've seen is like Flesh Marauder and Playcrafter and stuff like that, I believe. So seeing a 2 mana version of this is pretty good, I think. So we'll see how it turns out. Like I said, I don't think we'll see this in cEDH, but maybe be teched in some other graveyard loop decks, like Gitrog maybe? Not sure. Okay. Next up is we have Party Thrasher. 1 generic red, creature, lizard, wizard. Let me say that 5 times fast. 1/4. Non-creature spells you cast from exile have Convoke. Pretty big deal. And then it has another ability. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may discard a card. If you do, exile the top 2 cards of your library, then choose one of them. You may play that card this turn. This is pretty cool. Non-creature spells having Convoke from exile is a pretty big deal. We've seen it with the Hoarding Broodlord. I don't know what exactly, like I know for sure like any red cards with like Jessica's Will, things having Convoke, other effects like that. I don't know what decks really can do stuff like that. I guess like maybe Magda with Jessica's Will or Berkey to be able to cast stuff. Because you want to tap your dwarves to cast things for them and then generate treasures. So maybe this will see something in Magda. I don't know about any other deck. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head decks that are casting stuff from exile. Like not really blue form. Like I guess we have Meme Betrayal that exile stuff. And then if you have Party Thrasher, I guess. But it's not like we have creatures to really, you know, be convoking stuff. But I think it's an interesting card to see in red. I don't know what decks right now at the top of my head this will see play. But I think it's a pretty powerful effect that I'm sure we'll see play somewhere. Pretty interesting card. I'm excited to see what this does in the meta, if we see it at all. So that's Party Thrasher. Next up we have is Nightshade Dryad, another mana dork. It's generic green, creature Dryad, 1/2, Death Touch, tap it, add a colorless, tap it, add 1 mana of any color. This is huge. It dodges Bowmaster. It is 2 mana dork, but it has Death Touch, so it's a really good blocker. Normally, people will just send Ragavans at people and be like, oh yeah, whatever, you know. I mean, yeah, sure, normally they won't send it because it's a 1/2. But like other dorks or like Tymnas or whatever, people don't want to send it in because they don't want to block with their dorks. But this one, I'm sure you'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll trade you my Death Touch nerd for your Tymna or something else. So I don't know if we'll see this any play, maybe just because it's a really good blocker. 1/2 can dodge Bowmaster. I don't know if yeah, I just don't know how much better that'll be. But it is another dork for green decks to think about running. Next up we have is Rosecoat Knight? Rosecoat? 4 generic, 1 white, creature, human knight, 3/4, vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact or enchantment card from among them, put into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you didn't put a card into your hand if you didn't put a card into your hand this way, put a +1 counter on Rosecoat Knight. Now I bring this up because it's another tutor effect for Heliod to get Walking Ballista. However, it's not better than there's another one that does kind of the same thing, but it has Convoke, kind of. So I don't think this is going to be played, even though we're like fiending for tutors to find the Walking Ballista. We would rather just tutor it up end step with like E-tutor and then cast it the next turn, or tutor it and then cast it that same turn. 5 mana for it is really rough. I don't know if it's going to be played, but I just wanted to mention it for anybody else that might be a big deal. It does search for artifacts and enchantments, so I don't know if like Sithis is going to play this to get some enchantment stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it up for that reason. Moving on. We have, I want to save this one for last because it's nuts. We have Refurbished Familiar, 3 generic, 1 black, artifact creature zombie rat, 2/1, affinity for artifacts, blind. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who can't, you draw a card. I don't know how viable this will be in cEDH. Probably not, but I wanted to bring it up as it's some form of potential draw in mono black. Probably more for casual, but I really wanted to bring it up. It's just a good discard effect that hits everybody instead of like a 1-for-1 like a Thoughtseize. But not much to go over it. Now, the next card I want to go over is Planar Genesis. 1 green, 1 blue, instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't, put a card from among them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Holy shit. This is nuts. This is just a way better version of Expressive Iteration, in my opinion. For those who don't know, All-Star, 1 red, 1 blue, sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards, put 1 in the bottom of your library, 1 into exile, you may play it that turn, and another 1 into your hand. I would prefer this because it's instant speed, and you're digging a card deeper and ramping it. Oh my god, blue-green just gets like the better versions of so much other stuff. It's fucking BS. But it's powerful. Oh my god, it's great. A fantastic card. I'm sure we're gonna see it in Kinnan. I'm sure we'll see it in Kinnan. We'll see it in some other cards too, I bet. Yeah, it's a fantastic card. It's insane. But yeah, that's the last card I wanted to talk about. Really good stuff. I'm actually really excited for Modern Horizons 3 coming out, surprisingly. I don't know about the other formats, how much this is gonna shake it up, because I know Modern was like, well, this is nuts with like the incarnations, and then it just decimated the format, and then Bowmaster and the One Ring made it worse. So I don't know about the other formats, but I know for cEDH, this is fantastic. This is going to diversify the meta really well, I think. There's not a lot of cards that like make the current strong deck stronger, except for Rogsai. But it helps out all the other decks become better and, you know, start giving Blue Farm a run for their money. And hopefully this elevates other lower tier decks to like tier 2 decks to possibly start being higher tier 2, maybe like pushing into tier 1. So I'm excited for those. I'm sure we'll see more Mardu stuff with Chthonian Nightmare. You know, like Timna Jessica. I'm sure maybe we'll see more of that come around, be a little bit more consistent since we had a little bit more draw stuff and a lot of, you know, better cards come out for those colors. So I'm excited to see what the meta is going to shake up. Maybe I switch decks. I've been playing, like I'm pretty sure I've stated in the previous video, I've been playing a lot of Stella, and she's so much fun. Oh my god, like she's so just fun to play. It's really amazing. She's getting like 3 cards. Oh right, I don't think I talked about the other one. There's another card, Strict Serenade. The other half, or the other part of Swan Song, instant counter target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell, and then they make a 2/2 bird, 1 mana. Oh my god, busted, insane. I think they should have just made a 1 mana counter target creature spell, but the fact that it hits artifact and it also hits a freaking planeswalker, which I don't know how relevant that's gonna be. But mainly the creature spell, like, oh my god, so much hate now. Like now you're like, people are definitely scared of casting their leaders more, because like you can just counter them with that spell. You know, Timna counter, Prom counter, Kinnan counter, Sisay counter. It helps out with like Thassa wins. You can counter the Thassa now. You can counter leaders. Like it definitely helps out, but it's like, holy power creep, man. It's pretty insane. So yeah, so with that in mind, Stella got that card upgrade. Blue Farm got, that's basically really all Blue Farm got for an upgrade, really. Like you're taking out like Offer or Dispel now for the Strict Serenade. But for Stella, you have that card, Power Balance, insane, and Flare of Duplication. Oh my god, like Stella got a lot of toys to play with. It's fantastic. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see what the meta shakes up to be afterwards. I think not this weekend, but next weekend is when the set comes out, I believe. And then we have like a bunch of big tournaments. So we'll see how many of the people get those cards in time to play them for those tournaments, and how much they affect results at all. Yeah, I'm actually thinking of looking at, you know, Jessica Timna again, just because we have more infinite mana loops with Chthonian and Dockside, just those 2 cards. So I'm looking at other decks now to see maybe like some sleeper decks, or the decks that are now tier 1, or could be more tier 1 to compete with like Blue Farm, Rogsai, Kinnan, Sisay, and all the other top tier decks. So we'll see. I'm excited to see how everything pans out. You guys let me know what cards you're excited for, what decks you think are gonna be big contenders now with these new cards coming out. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And that's gonna be it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment below, share the video, help us grow, help this channel get bigger and let people know about it. And thank you for your support. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.